Hello, everybody. My name is Aaron Heller, and I want to welcome everybody to the January edition of this first Wednesday's Humpday Hangout for Fire Engineering. We specifically deal with training topics on the first Wednesday, and we've got just that with us today. Today we've got three esteemed gentlemen from the IFSI. We're going to talk about the new program put out by the IFSI dealing with the interaction of law enforcement officers and the fire service. A long overdue program, long overdue project, and I just had the chance to view it the other day. Absolutely great for us. So before we get started, I'd like to welcome in our group and start off with our good friend and leader, Chief Bobby Hall.
I'd say more the ombudsman than the leader, but thank you for that. Hey, welcome everybody. This is going to be a great conversation. I took a look at the program the other day. I think it's very impressive. Neat way to build a relationship, and my hat's off to the IFSI for putting this together. I think it's a long overdue. You know, we talk about integrated community risk reduction, and the only way to really do that and do it in a intelligent and kind of forward-looking way is to build relationships with the folks like law enforcement, and I fully expect to see from them in kind, and maybe from the Law Enforcement Instructors Association. I don't know if one exists, but hopefully it does, that we'll see a law enforcement version for firefighters, like what to do if you're first on a crime scene. So we may see something like that in kind. Also, I'd like to tip my hat to the elections, and congratulations to my good friend Pete Van Dorf for being elected to the board. Way to go. And to all my good friends who were reelected, congratulations. I know it's a lot of work. A lot of folks don't know how much the board does behind the scenes, but thank you. They put together a great conference every year, and they all work diligently at doing that and representing you as instructors in their various regions and whatnot. So congratulations to that. Quick note, if you're watching, Courage and Valor nominations close, I believe, on Saturday night at midnight. So please, if you're thinking of nominating somebody for Courage and Valor, get it into us now. You can do it online. Just go to FDIC, click on the Courage and Valor tab down there on the homepage, and it'll take you right to the form. You can do it online. You know, lots of great deserving people out there. We are looking at the George D. Post nominations, and I know we'll be meeting Friday to make that final selection. To all of you who were nominated, congratulations on that. Best of luck to you. And we're currently going through that process, so that's happening. Please, if you're heading to FDIC and you haven't yet registered, please register, because if you call me in February and ask me to try to get you a hotel downtown, it ain't gonna happen. So you know, you gotta book early and go that route. Great stuff. Fire Rescue Month magazine came out online today, so download this month's Fire Rescue. Great thing, Understanding Human Error by Sean Pasternak, who works under Dr. David Woods, and he's worked with Sidney Decker and several other major modern thinkers on accident investigation analysis and human error and the whole field of cognitive awareness and decision making. Great, incredibly great piece in Fire Rescue this month. Tweeted it out this morning. If you follow me on Twitter, please take the time to read it. Wonderful piece. Oddly enough, today I'm editing an article which will be coming out in February's Fire Engineering, Lessons Learned from the Hoboken Train Derailment. What do we have today? A train derailment. So we're always evolving and growing, and so my hat's just off to the Instructor Society. You know, the science is a self-correcting process, and firefighting is basically science. And so we're always self-correcting, adjusting, evolving, and growing. And the society tries to stay abreast of that, as well as understanding hard lessons learned and randomness and complexity and all the other issues that go into what we do. So without any further ado, I just wanted to say thanks to society for sticking with us for another year. We've got a lot of great things planned together for this upcoming year. Great leadership in the society right now, really making some really forward-moving moves and adjustments, and I really like what's going on. So with that, I'll throw it over to our host and of the most, Aaron. Take it away, buddy.
All right. Well, thanks, Bobby. And yeah, the one last little plug I'll give is, since you're signing up for FDIC, which is the career changer of career changers for anybody who's never been, and is the career re-energizer for any of us who have been. Make sure you get on early, and this is, you're already a little slow getting there, so get there now and get yourself signed up for the classes you want. And I will pitch that there is a wonderful 4-hour hot program being run by a few guys very close to me, commercial fire ground operations. So we'd love to see that filled up and a bunch of smiling faces under fire helmets that day. So there is that. But make sure you get there. Make sure you get there. You just can't miss this opportunity. And this year's an anniversary, the 90th year. So I mean, it's just going to be wonderful. So without further ado,
you can take Aaron's class in the morning and Kaz's class in the afternoon.
Absolutely, absolutely, do it. You can't be beat then. So let's go right into introducing our guests and have them say a little bit of something about themselves. And remember, if you've got a question for us, you can put it in #FETalk, and we'll try to get to it. We've got an hour to cover a lot of great stuff, so here we go. So Seth, you want to take it away for us?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. My name's Seth Barker. I hail from the southwest corner of Montana. I work for the Big Sky Fire Department, and I'm a captain and training officer down there. I've been kind of owning and living this particular aspect of the ISFSI's curriculum for this law initiative here. I've been really trying to dive into it and talk to a lot of police officers out there and a lot of cops that are doing fire ground operations and getting on scenes first, and really trying to embrace this as part of our, forward-thinking initiative here. So that's a little bit about me. Kaz?
My name is Brian Kazmierzak. I'm the Chief of Training at Penn Township in Mishawaka, Indiana, which means nothing to most of you guys, except we have the AM General Hummer plant in our area. So if you've ever been in the military and drove a Humvee, those are made in our Still District. We have the largest high school in the state of Indiana in our Still District with about 4,500 kids, which is like a science experiment gone wrong when you put 4,500 14 to 18-year-olds together. And we have the University of Notre Dame very close to us. So I'm currently the second vice president of the ISFSI, or the International Society of Fire Service Instructors. And if you're not familiar with us, I definitely encourage you to go to our website, isfsi.org, and check us out, see what we're all about. There's about 3,000 plus fire instructors throughout the world that are members. And our goal is just to help the instructors, to give resources to the instructors and make things better for you and make things better for the fire service. So this law program is something that, myself and another friend of mine, Forrest Reeder, originally started kicking around several years ago back and forth because we were both having issues on the fire ground with our local police officers. And I don't know if we ever thought that it would come to having a 10-minute video and a 4-hour class and everything else. I think initially our goal was just to have a quick drill for the cops and just kind of educate them. And to get to where it's got today, it's pretty awesome to see, because it's definitely not where we thought we were going with it when we started. And the one thing I'm excited about is the amount of feedback we've got so far from the law enforcement community. Just in the past 24 hours, the feedback from the law enforcement community has been fantastic. Even my local law enforcement community, I got an email from one of the assistant chiefs of police yesterday saying, I've been asking for something like this for 20 years. So that was pretty cool to see that come across yesterday. And so hopefully it's going to make a difference. It's going to be fun to talk about and hang out with you guys today. So Mr. McGuire.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank everybody for this opportunity, and I really want to thank Steve Pegram and Kaz for when we talked about this, I believe at FDIC last year, for giving me the opportunity to join and develop this curriculum that is really extremely important. I'm a member of the Freeport Fire Department on Long Island. I served as a chief officer. I currently assist the chiefs with the command staff and some other initiatives that we have moving forward on incident command. I have seen a lot of really good interactions with police departments over the years at scenes. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of times the bad things that happen make the news, national news. But on a day-to-day basis, there's a lot of good interactions that happen with between police and law enforcement. And I think the crux of this whole program is to promote the safety and the good things that we're learning through science and research, and make sure that everybody goes home. So again, I appreciate the opportunity, and Chief Holt and I appreciate the opportunity to be on the Hangout today.
The one thing I wanted to add with John is John and Ed Klein are two members of the ISFSI that have law enforcement backgrounds. So this program just wasn't developed by firefighters. We had people specifically with law enforcement backgrounds to come and help us. And what was nice about these guys is, especially like Ed Klein, he's a police officer and a volunteer fire chief. John is a firefighter and has a law enforcement background. So they were able to bring both to the table. And
yeah, so if I can, Brian, I was never a sworn officer. I have a private security background, and I work very closely with a lot of law enforcement agencies, and with my background with emergency management, work very closely with developing training and exercises and so forth. So I just wanted to say that, and a lot of this was done by reaching out to our partners in law enforcement. But thank you.
And you were able to make some contacts through NYPD and some of those case studies and different things as well. So bring some things to the table. The other thing I wanted to touch on before we get going too far into this is the fact that we had something happen in Cannelton, Indiana last week. And Cannelton is as far southwest in Indiana as you can possibly go. Perry County, it's down where Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois all come together. And, unfortunately, there was a fire chief arrested on a fire scene by a police officer. And I think what I want to say to start off is, was that a bad cop? Was that a bad fire chief? No, but we didn't understand each other, and we didn't understand each other's intentions, and we weren't trained appropriately. So, instead of throwing stones at what happened, let's learn from what happened so it never happens again. That's, I think, the one thing I wanted to capture today, since that's on the forefront and has been on every fire service media in the past week that I thought we needed to address right off the bat.
It's a really good point, Kaz. You see it here and again. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does happen, it makes every headline, and it's all over the news, and it doesn't shine a light very well on any of us. And I think the thing to step back and remember for all of us is that firefighters and police officers, we're doing it for the right reasons for the most part. Both require a lot of passion for what you do. And sometimes that passion gets a little heated up, and sometimes things happen. So you take a step back, you regroup, and you understand that we're in this for the best of everybody. For them to come home, us to come home. And in my neighborhood, I've been really pleased when I drive around. There's been a few guys hanging the American flag with a red and blue stripe through it, which is pretty cool. So we really have to stay on point with that. So let's jump into it. Let's first begin with talking about what the program truly is. Where did it come from? Why are we doing this? So Seth, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So initially when Kaz and Forrest Reeder were talking to me about instituting quick drills and talking about what does my neck of the country do as far as the law enforcement goes is really trying to educate the law enforcement officers on what to do. And that conversation kind of started with a good scene size up. In my little corner of the world, we rely heavily on our police officer brothers and sisters because they're always the first ones on scene most of the time, and they give us an excellent scene size up right off the bat of whether we need to turn it up or turn it down a notch, and they're fully capable of canceling us within the process. And now that next step is, what are they doing for that first 30, 90 seconds or a couple minutes before we arrive? And that's really the most critical part is, doing a 360 and really gaining that survivability profile and how to get on the same page across both organizations. And so we're talking the same language because, as we know in the fire service, heavy smoke and heavy fire showing means completely different thing to me as it does to Kaz, as it does to John. So we need to get on the same page with the law enforcement. If we can't even communicate on the fire service, we need to make sure we're communicating across all agencies.
That's a huge point. How many times have you been responding to a fire and a report came in that it was fully involved when really you had fire showing from one or two windows? Big difference as opposed to that. So yeah, educating, and that's just one of the steps, the communications of it. Sure. So So we're getting into that. Having that strong law enforcement background is part of this program. And somebody, John, you want to jump in on that? Where we got to this point?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the research that has proven a lot of the things that we've known. I mean, all of us that started out in the fire service, learned locate, confine, and extinguish. We learned don't vent until you have water, and the consequences of if you vent or kick doors in. I think that a lot of things today, we see a lot of controversy and so forth around body-worn cameras. There are some departments that have issues with helmet-worn cameras. But I think realistically, everything we're doing on the fire ground is being documented. Everything we're doing at an emergency scene is being documented, whether they're stationary cameras, body-worn cameras, helmet cameras, or people just with their phones taking pictures. So the very well-intended things that some people used to do, kick in the front door, run around, kick in the back door, we're seeing those consequences play out. And we also know that with the toxins and so forth that are given off by the smoke, that one hit from a well-intended law enforcement officer going into a building can be catastrophic for that law enforcement person, whether it's at the scene or down the road, or repeated exposure. So I think really taking all that we know and learn and putting it into a presentation is the thing that we're ultimately looking to get and pass on the good work that we're doing. And also talking to them, and I have to say, in on Long Island, there are 180 different volunteer fire departments. In Nassau County, there are 17 different police departments. And a lot of our police officers are either current or former firefighters. And so some of them understand it, but some of them are in different departments that may have different SOPs and SOGs. So I think it's really incumbent on each department to, partner with their law enforcement agencies and get on the same page of the operations. And as Seth was saying, getting that situational awareness, that scene size up, that great information that we're going to get from the officers as they arrive on the scene. And listening to them.
Yeah, and absolutely. And that comes, we get that feedback from them after we've educated them on what we expect and what we see and how we function and how the interoperability is going to be there. It's interesting because in our area, we also have several police officers who served as volunteer firefighters in the past or started in the fire service, and we're kind of backwards. We have a lot of cops who started in the fire service on the career side and went to the police force because they make a hell of a lot more money there than we do. So they're totally backwards, even if they scored higher on the test to get to the fire department, But the bottom line is, do they have the information needed to pass it on to us? Do they have the background needed to pass it on to us? And I think this program sets that up from what I can see of it. And that's really what we need to do. And we've talked about this partnership, this ongoing partnership. So if one of you, Kaz or Seth, if you'd like to jump in on that.
I'll jump in. Going back to this program, it's meant to be multi-level, number one. And, we know that most cops, their training is different than the way we train. They train at roll call. Roll call may be a half hour. So this initial, push with the video, it's a 10-minute video. So they can still get something else done at their roll call, but it provides them education they've never really had. And even when we were filming the video down in Boone County, Kentucky, we had some law enforcement officers there with us. And those guys made the point. They said, no one's ever told us what to do when we get to the fire scene. They said, we're just going by what we think is the right thing to do. So, it's important. The other part to this program is there's a 4-hour piece that we're offering for the first time in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, the end of January. And that's more directed at the new law enforcement officer, or more of a continuing education piece, more so than just the roll call training. It's a lot more in depth. It talks a lot more about other things in the fire ground and how they can help us in that, and spend a little bit more time on that size up piece that Seth said is so important, and it is. And the more information we can get out of them, the more we can work together. And the biggest thing behind all of this, I think, and I'm going to probably say this 20 times today while I'm on here, is we're one team. We're working together for the same common goal. And we can't beat up on each other. We can have fun with each other, and we can tease them that our recliners are more comfortable than their cop cars. But we're all still one team, and we're just trying to help each other. The point Bobby made at the start, maybe the police will reciprocate with a crime scene video or something, is excellent. I've never even thought of that, but that just struck me today going, hey, there's a way that we all can, because how many times have firefighters spoiled crime scenes for police officers? So, we all have gripes with each other, but let's remember we're one team in the end.
It's important. It's an important point. I can tell you when I went to EMT school, unfortunately a few decades ago now, one of the things they did have was they had a police officer come in and explain to us the need to, cut around the clothing where the bullet hole was and how to at least be a little more careful. And maybe that is something that we need to look at a lot closer. I know I've seen a lot of departments who bring in arson investigators or cause an origin guys, whatever you want to call it, to kind of brief the basic street level firefighter how to preserve things. And I think this goes to that point as well. It's a great reciprocation. Your IFSI is going to lead the way on a great form of reciprocation for the law enforcement community.
Yeah, so just to articulate the program a little bit better, we come out with this 10-minute YouTube video that got launched yesterday by the ISFSI, and in turn we're offering a 4-hour course that can be modified a little bit to do a 1-hour course, but we're doing a 4-hour course PowerPoint presentation that has a lesson plan to go along with it, as well as a quick drill. So the theory is the law enforcement officers are going to be able to bring this back to their organization and be able to train their communities, their counties, or their states on their level. It's really embracing the why, like we are in the fire service. Is why are we closing the door? Why are we trying to do a survivability profile? Why are we trying to have everybody be on the same page with the scene size up? And really answering those questions, so we're not just forcing this down other people's throats. I think an important piece, and I know we've touched on it before, but I just want to reiterate that this is a law enforcement program that has law enforcement has the law enforcement officers helping us with this program. It's not just the fire service making this stuff up. So we've really been vetted and have a lot of input from our fellow law enforcement brothers and sisters to make sure that we're hitting it on its mark.
Well, and that's a key, for everyone to be very clear that there's been a very parallel working relationship between law enforcement and the IFSI makes this much more important, much more acceptable probably throughout the law enforcement community, I would think. So it's certainly a high point of the program, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. The beta class that we're doing at the end of, like Kaz talked about at the end of the month here, is going to have, I think, to the tune of 50 to 75 law enforcement officers within the class. And we're going to present the PowerPoint lesson plan quick drill, and then we're going to get feedback from them of, are we missing something here, or what do we need to explain more, or what do we need to work on? And then that will generate the true class and the curriculum from that. If Kaz, you want to speak to that a little bit?
No, I think that's the important part is that, what we are offering at the end of the month in Delaware County is a beta, and we're going to, go from there with it. We're going to kind of see what happens and get some feedback from law enforcement. What we're really hoping is that the people that show up to the one in Delaware County, it's totally free for anybody that wants to come, that you're in the area, is you bring a law enforcement officer with you, or you bring a firefighter with you. So if you're from one place, you bring the other, so if you're a fire guy, bring your equal in the police department, or if you're you want to bring somebody else with you to be there and kind of get the message across both ways. So
Brian, while you're on that, how can somebody get signed up for that? And do they have to be an IFSI member? How's that work so our listeners can?
No, this is not a membership driven class. So while we'd love for you to be a member, and hopefully afterwards and see what we're doing, you'll join as a member. But if you go to our website, the registration's on the website. So if you go to isfsi.org, you can find it. Bobby, are you getting plug points from Verners for that? It looks almost like a commercial there that, it's like in the movies where they have the certain plugs that these different places are paying for. But
I turned it to the Verners ginger ale thing because when I picked up the can, I realized there's a lot of beer cans that are green. And I don't drink, and I promote sobriety as a lifestyle. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew that this is Verners Ba Ba Boom. It's a very sweet ginger ale.
Okay. So anyways, ISFSI website, you can get registered for that. I will also make sure that Shannon gets the link so she can put it back up on the or on the Humpday Hangout too to share. And she has some other things that she's going to share as well as the video link. There was a little bit of an issue yesterday. We found an error in the video and we had to pull one and put it back up. So she's going to have the correct video link and some other things there to share as well. So I'll make sure Shannon gets that.
Yeah, that
so
class.
As the ombudsman, if you'd allow me to interject as your ombudsman here, I'll bring in some of the studio audience. Hey, Dave Piper, amazing guy too. If you're not following Dave Piper, highly recommend it. Neat guy, always has good information. He said he really likes the short burst idea, the 10-minute video training. That's kind of a neat way to get the point across. Personally, I really like Kaz's conversation he was just having a moment ago about bring a cop to work day. It'd probably be the first time they ever get to see people really working. But I'm just kidding. But that's a kind of a neat way to do the training. You know, a cop brings a firefighter, firefighter brings a cop. That's kind of a neat idea. Some neat feedback from our friends at Maryland Fire Rescue. Thank you for that. Our folks from Envisage talking about the 360, commenting on Kaz's stuff there. So some great stuff there. Sonny O'Connor, another neat guy, said, you know, how often Kaz and Seth and John, do you think that we ought to be training with our fellow LEOs? You know, years ago, for full disclosure, I worked for the U.S. Department of State, Wackenhut, and a group called BOMAC Industries, and I used to do law enforcement training for executives, incident management stuff, and learned a lot about how they do business, particularly on the federal level and outside the United States, but also inside the United States. And so it's as Kaz said, one of the things we need to remember is that their deployment model is radically different than ours. It's usually one individual, and in about 90% of the country, very few cities ride in pairs anymore just because of the economy and reality. Not that it's good or bad or right or wrong. So how they do business is sometimes a little bit different than ours, and this is a really great opportunity to get a better handle on, you know, not only what we're doing at fires and other emergencies, but what they're doing at other emergencies, and work on our vernacular and what, you know, one of the best lessons I got early on, if you don't mind a quick story from the ombudsman. I was doing some hazmat training as part of the course, and I was using hot, warm, cold zone, and this major from New York State Police came walking up to me. His name was Vince Faziano. He had the whole Mr. T starter kit going, the whole thing. And he said, you know, Bob, there's a problem with the hot, warm, cold stuff when you talk about cops. I said, well, what's that, Vince? He says, you tell a cop he's going in the cold zone, he'll say, okay, wait a minute, I'll go get my jacket. Jacket. It don't mean nothing to us. You got to use words like kill. That means something to us. And that's where I learned how to use the term kill zone versus hot zone. Because if you tell a cop hot zone, it doesn't really bring up as much as kill zone. They understand a kill zone. That's where if you go unprepared, you die. And the fire ground today is a kill zone based on toxicity. The hazmat scenes, the hot zone is a kill zone. So some interesting opportunities there as we work together more closely to refine our terminology and our jargon to make it more meaningful.
Well, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I think, Chief, you hit it right on the head there as far as, you know, are you training with your law enforcement agencies and how often are you doing that? You know, I think the simple answer is, you know, we need to do it quarterly or biannually and just getting on the same page. And like I was speaking to earlier, it's just doing a simple scene size up picture and saying, okay, what are you guys seeing compared to what we're seeing? And so we have that same dialogue meaning the same thing across both agencies. But I think, you know, that joint training is a huge deal. You know, our cop shop is right next door to our firehouse, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be sharing that same training night and that same opportunity when they're doing it.
It makes a lot of sense. The other thing that I was just thinking of as you guys were talking is the police officers are out patrolling the streets every day. They're in a lot of the neighborhoods that we don't get in all the time until we get a run there. So the police officers already have intelligence on areas and on buildings that if they share with us, it'll really help our command structure. It'll help us giving orders to our crews coming in. So that sharing of information alone brings up a lot more, as Jack Murphy says, building recon, basically. We're getting that information to the troops. Now, when we've got something showing from a few windows or victims hanging out, it's a whole different ballgame for us. So I think that getting that closer tie with law enforcement through a program like what the IFSI has put together here just gives us more intel and a little bit more power, if that's the way you want to look at it, to just do a better job. So I really like that idea that the cops are in the street more than we are, and if we can share that information at shift change or whenever, that's fantastic. As I talked about a little bit about command, John, I wanted to jump to you with the ICS background, and you want to jump in.
Yeah, one of the things, and Chief Holt, to your point about the training is, and just how we operate in an incident command structure. We could have a safety chief, an operations chief, and so forth. And most police officers, to your point, are rolling up that police officer, and this is again from interviewing and talking to my friends in law enforcement. That is the police incident commander. He's the PIO. He's the logistics, the plans, the operations, everything. He has to carry all of that weight until he's relieved by a superior officer, if there is a superior officer working that they're not tied up at something else. So I think the understanding, and Kaz, to your point about one team, is very important, and training is vital. And but I think another thing that we could do is on the smaller incidents that aren't a major fire or an incident, one of the things everybody learns first thing in emergency management or incident command is, you don't want to exchange business cards or meet people at the scene. It doesn't take a lot to say hello to somebody, to wish them well or whatever it is like that, and that will build that relationship and trust, so that when you get to a scene that could be a little hectic, you have that relationship. And again, it just goes to building understanding. A lot of times when we have drills with law enforcement, we have a tabletop, it's set up, people have their roles, but I think the day-to-day interactions are what's most important to have those training things, or kind of talk about what ifs. When we go back to the rig or at the back of the chief's car and we kind of do a critique, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to involve the law enforcement people, the police officers on scene, just to tell them kind of what you're thinking about and educate them on a daily basis.
It makes a lot of sense. It just goes back to that flow of information. And then we know on the fire ground, the more educated we are, the more information we have, normally the better our performance is. Well, the fact that we've been really a post 9/11 emergency services joined community, this just goes to it even further. And that's where this program brings it even closer together. Chief?
Well, one of the things that I think we also need to talk about, besides fires and hazmat, is our nation's currently struggling with an opioid crisis. There's no easy way to say it. We're losing thousands of citizens a day to opioid addiction and overdoses, and the law enforcement folks are getting there first, and a lot of them are carrying Narcan now. So working with them now at this juncture, hopefully maybe we can make an impact into that community as well. Aaron just said it better than I ever could. They're in certain neighborhoods constantly because they need to be there to function effectively. We're called in when we're actually absolutely critically needed. So when we talk about opioid addiction and issues like that, literally seconds make a difference. Brain damage, survivability, all decreases with every passing second. So as Kaz and Seth and John put together this incredible program with everybody else who worked on it, and God bless them for doing that. The neat thing about training and education and life is that there's no end. I always laugh when people back in the day, before we understood complexity and systems better, people used to talk about root causes, which is so sophomoric, because that's just where you stop. I mean, that's where you stop looking. There's always another layer to peel in that onion in life today because of complexity and evolution and growth. So, never stop looking for the next opportunity to do something. So take that. I think what's neat is to get involved with this opportunity. Get a hold of Kaz or Seth or John and find out how to get this to your organization. You don't have to have one of these guys fly in to train it. It's online. They're giving it away. Nothing has value if you can't give it away. And that's an absolute truth. If you're holding on to information because you think it makes you better than somebody else, you're an idiot. It gets better with every individual's contribution. So think about the opioid addiction. Think about just being able to help people with lifestyle stuff. We're talking about health and wellness today in the fire service as a huge issue. There's a great program here in Tulsa called Fit for Duty, and it's run by a guy named Coach JC. Google it, Fit for Duty, and it's public safety people, cops and firefighters, who work out together every day, and while they're working out, they exchange all kinds of information. So they do a workout, wellness, fitness program, and they do it every day. They have sessions every day that the off-duty shifts go to in a gym that's just for them. It's kind of a neat program. It's just something they're doing here in Tulsa. I don't know where else he's doing it, but it's a neat program run by a neat guy just for cops and firefighters. And tremendous stuff has come out of it. And hopefully one of our society members down here is going to bring this new program to the awareness of the Tulsa law enforcement folks in the surrounding neighborhoods, and probably through that Fit for Duty program. So, man, it's really, really cool to see integrated community risk reduction becoming more of a reality every day, and it makes me excited and happy, and you guys are awesome. So,
Bobby, just to build on something that you said there, we don't have nearly as formal as what you were talking about in Tulsa, but something that I've done for the past several years is every time I see a new police officer on a run, I give them my business card, and on the back I write our door codes to the fire stations and tell them, hey, stop by for a cup of coffee, stop by to wash your car, stop by to watch the game or whatever. And it's one of those things. And I'll tell you what, it's been amazing, just the relationships that have been built with these police officers. They'll come and eat dinner with us now. They'll come and hang out. And you'll see the guy in the store on your day off, and he'll come up and talk to you. And it's been really cool just to see something that used to be maybe controversial and adversarial now to where we all kind of hang out and at the firehouse together even.
Okay, so I have to share one good story so we can all have a moment. So it's a true story. It's from about 25, 30 years ago, so none of the players can lose their jobs over it. So this cop rolls into 111 truck one day and says, mind if I take a blow? He's got to take a quick nap. But the cop is a horse cop, so he's got this horse. And the guys say, no problem, put the horse over here, go take a nap, we got your back, kind of thing. So this cop goes, lays down, is taking a blow. Meanwhile, a box comes in, right? So this guy, who's a bit of a character, says they knew the box. The box gets pulled every day by the same guy. It's a block away from the station. They know who it is, right? The same frequent flyer, alcoholic guy pulled the box. They knew it. So the guy says to Tommy, he says, you mind if I do this? He says, what are you going to do? He says, watch. He takes a sheet, wraps himself in a sheet, because he's just wearing his BVDs. So he takes a sheet, wraps himself in a sheet, gets on the cop's horse with a pike pole, like he's Don Quixote, right? Like he's a knight in shiny armor. Rides down the block to where the guy pulled the box and says, what do you need? The guy looks up at him. Here's a guy in a white sheet, wrapped in a sheet with a pole, freaks out and runs away, right? So he turns around and starts to go back towards the station on the cop's horse. Up pulls a battalion chief. True story. Battalion chief in his car, having a smoke, rolls down his window, takes a poke on his pell-mell, looks at the guy on the horse, recognizes him because he saw the box alarm coming. He goes, what do we got? Guy on the horse says, nothing good. What, chief? Chief says, all right, have a good day. Rolls up the window and drives off. Is that like the most perfect story in the world? It's a Tommy Brennan story. I love that story.
You can't make some of these up. You just can't make them up, Chief.
You can't make that stuff up.
Never.
We'll probably see that on Chicago Fire in a month or two.
All right, well, back on it. One of the things that we've got tweeted into us is from Tony Correa, and Tony is a guy from Jersey, Pennsylvania area, still working as a very active medic and firefighter. So one of the things that Tony brought up was PD on scene, first making decisions to reduce speed. You know, do we have procedures for that? Do we have checklists for this? You know, how are we assessing this sort of thing? So I'd like to ask you guys that. I can tell you where I work in Hamilton, the PD can give us a report. They cannot slow us down or cancel us on a fire-related incident. They can slow us down or cancel us on motor vehicle accidents, medicals, things of that nature. But if it's an actual alarm sounding or a fire-related incident, they don't. So Seth, where does that go with you guys?
Well, it's interesting, you know, that I think in the state of Montana, I believe, I could be wrong on this because I'm wrong on a lot of things, that Montana was the first state to start training their rookie police officers on closing the door when they first show up and giving them a quick little class on scene size up. So, you know, going along with the curriculum and the lesson plan, what we're trying to show is not only good scene size up, but closing the door, limiting the air supply, doing a quick assessment and rescue profiling, and maybe doing a quick grab if it's safe for them to open that door and somebody's just right inside. So along those lines, I think that Montana's done a really good job at working, you know, kind of neck and neck with the fire service on helping each other out, because we are a very rural state. You know, the cops are just as much hanging out there in my neck of the woods as the firefighters are. You know, it's a long ways before, you know, we get help on scene, both on the law enforcement side and on the fire service side. So we really have to have that symbiotic relationship and really trust. If the cops say, hey, there's nothing going on, we need to trust them and say, okay, well, let's slow down the response and not put ourselves in the hazard or in harm's way by going code 3 down the icy roads in the middle of the night. So, you know, it happens time and time again where the cops can cancel us, you know, if they don't find anything, or, you know, our chief officers often help out the cops too when they're kind of hanging out there by themselves and we can't get a hold of them. Our chief officers will get on the line with dispatch and try to help on the law enforcement side as well.
You know, we're a little bit different. You know, I think we're more like Jersey. We don't necessarily let them cancel us or step down the response. The one thing with this as well, and I don't know how we forgot to mention this so far, is the one thing we came up with was a sample SOP too. So for law enforcement. So you know, we want to make sure that with the training, there's policy that goes with it. So we'd come up with some best practices as well. So you know, I think everywhere you go, it's going to be a little different. You know, too, where, you know, Seth has routinely responses that are a half hour to 45-minute responses, to where, you know, in my neck of the woods or your neck of the woods, we're on scene, you know, 90% of the time within 5 minutes or less. So those things all play into it too. So.
And that is a good point, because guys like, I'd say, guys from the Northeast and you know, the Jersey, New York area, that greater metro area, it's a different ballgame for us when it comes to this, because we're not used to extended response times unless we're calling a 4th or 5th alarm or something like that. I talk almost daily with Carl Haddon, who writes for Apparatus, and he lives in the Rocky Mountains, Idaho. And he just looked at one of my articles and said, but you forgot about those of us that live out in the sticks. So this is a really clear point to that, where the county sheriffs or the you know, whoever it may be, have to have this, as you said, that symbiotic relationship, that bond, and trust in one another. And that's the big thing, is gaining that trust in one another. And again, I think that this program goes to help building that trust and that level of teamwork, so to speak. So anything you want to add to that, Seth, Brian?
Go ahead, Kaz.
No, you know, the one thing I want to make sure that I get in before we end here today is to thank the people that were involved, because there's a lot of people that were involved in this program that aren't on here today, and that may never get recognized if we don't talk about it right now. And you know, that's Lee Hubbard, our executive director, Steve Pegram, our president, who Steve's normally on with us. But the Spokane, Washington Fire Department is what made this video happen. And Dean Piercy, their video guy, Brian Schaefer, their interim chief, they came out, they paid for it out of the Spokane Fire Department's budget to come out and film this for us and produce it. And we couldn't have done it without them. We didn't have any grant money. We didn't have any of our own money. So it was nice to see. You know, the other thing, Boone County, Kentucky Training, Boone County Sheriff, and Scott Knoll from the Florence, Kentucky Fire Department are some of the people that really made this happen. And, you know, Forrest and some of his work initially, Devin Wells was in the video. And, you know, there's just, it was a true partnership. And, you know, the police officers, when they came and shot the video, they were very leery of what this was going to be about. And the one thing the one police officer kept telling to us is, we don't want to look bad. We don't want to look bad. And I think that was a big takeaway for us is, you know, we don't ever want to show in a training aspect of people doing things the wrong way necessarily. It's much better to re-emphasize the right way of doing things. And, you know, I think they were worried we were going to pick on them a little bit, but that was not the intent of this program. So, you know, I think once we beta this 4-hour class and really get some feedback and, you know, see what the surveys and education are before and after, there's a lot more to come on this topic. This is not the end of this topic today.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I misspoke earlier that the beta class is not just police officers too. There's going to be a strong contingency of the fire service as well, so we can have those good group discussions and those good peer-to-peer conversations as well, so we can make this class even better.
Right, and if I could jump in also, I think one of the many benefits of this class is going to be furthering the relationship between law enforcement and the fire service. And I know it's probably been the subject of some Humpday Hangouts before, but you know, this whole notion of active shooter and terrorism, where, you know, the roles are reversed. We are then operating within the police command staff, and if we can work out whatever differences or have this training and bond going right away, when we have one of those horrific scenes that plays out all over the country and all over the world, you know, we could hope to do a better job and have a much better outcome, rather than, you know, trying to figure it out as we go along while there's literally bullets flying.
And that's the key point, John. I mean, think about it. You can watch the news any day of the week, and we see so much of this going on. The interaction has to be fairly seamless from the start, because otherwise we're just endangering ourselves even more. And these issues aren't going to slow down. Fires aren't going to just stop, and active shooters aren't going to just go away, as you know, the Dylan Roof sentencing is going on right now in Charleston today as we speak. And you know, Bobby and I have very close friends that were involved just in that response alone. So you know, this has got to be that seamless thing. And we talk about the everyone goes home type stuff. This is certainly everyone goes home. This is for their safety as well as ours. Look at how many brothers in blue are you know, losing their lives on watch. If we can stop them from, you know, sucking down a bad lung full of God knows what that's in a fire room, then we just did a really good service to them and their families. So it's this type of program and this type of interaction between the two emergency services is going to go a long way, not just for guys like us, but for their families and down the road. And, you know, the prevention of what we feel are preventable cancers, and you name it. This type, I believe strongly that this type of program is really a stepping stone towards that with us in law enforcement. And that's, the more I watched this and the more I read about it, the more I really bought in. And I don't buy into stuff too easily usually. So that it says a lot about it, I think. Seth?
Yeah, so, you know, we released a press release through the ISFSI towards the law enforcement agencies today, highlighting the course and the video that got launched on YouTube yesterday. We've already created this partnership and are trying to get these guys incorporated within the ISFSI program, so we have that strong relationship. So moving forward, we can have these joint trainings that benefit both of us. So the irons are already in the fire, so to speak.
Excellent, excellent. And once this first program is done out in Delaware County, what will it take for folks to get on board and start bringing this to their locales?
Yeah, great. Go ahead, Kaz.
Yeah, so that the plan with that is we'll post all those details on the website once we finish it up. But it should be pretty simple. To just go to isfsi.org and do an inquiry, and we'll send you the information. The other thing that we're already in the process of doing, and we got contact this week from the International Association of Police Chiefs, is the fact that we're trying to present at these different conferences. So while we have FDIC for the fire departments, the law enforcement officers have conferences as well. So the whole purpose of we want to get it out and get it in those hands too. So a guy like Ed Klein, or who's a police officer and a fire chief, would be a great presenter to take this and present it at that type of program. So, and that's kind of what we're looking at too. So there's probably going to be a multi-step approach. As soon as we get the feedback from the initial class and gather it and go through it, we'll take it to the ISFSI board, and they'll make the final rollout decisions.
Excellent.
Yeah, and if I could, just one other point, I know we're running short on time, is when we were developing this, this is the first generation or the first one. There is so much other information that we could have put in it, but it just for the purposes of putting a concise program together, it could be, what version 2 or next generation, whatever it is like that, or part 2. Because there is so much interaction and so many good things that we could share with our law enforcement community.
It's excellent. You have to start somewhere, and this certainly looks like a really good start to me. And just to look at the size of the rollout and how many organizations are going to benefit from this. So starting with this and working up to the next levels, it's a home run. It's a home run, and it's necessary. So one of the things that we talked about, and we talk about it all the time on here in these training Google Hangouts, is it really is a duty. We have a duty to train our people. Well, now I think we're looking at it from a more a global aspect of we have a duty to train everybody who's going to show up. And that goes for our police officers.
The other people that I think we're forgetting too, and maybe this is the next video, are the dispatchers. Because there's a close the door message there too that can be taken at the dispatch level, and some of those things too. And I think those are the ones that we forget about a lot. Maybe this comes to mind because it's fresh with me. I'm in the month of February. I'm pretty much assigned to the dispatch office for like 4 tours, and doing nothing but Mayday training with the dispatchers. So, it's somebody else. We complain about them a lot, but do we give them anything to train them on and fix it, the problem? So maybe that's the next part, is the dispatcher's role in fire dispatching, and, kind of how they fit into this.
Right, and also rolling it out to the private security folks, the ASIS folks, that are, in most of our bigger buildings, there's always typically a security director who's going to give us, good information when we're responding.
That's another great point. It really is. We go to a lot of these places, and that's it. The night watchman, what can that person give us? They already can give us details of the building. Well, if they can give us other information on what they're seeing and understanding, that's another home run. I can't thank you enough for bringing up about the dispatchers, Brian. I've got a sister who I think she's in her 32nd, 33rd year as a 911 operator in a county, actually where I live now. And they are the forgotten ones. They really are. What they go through every day is just amazing. And the ability that they have to change a scene for us, even prior to our getting there. So yeah, closing the door, getting everybody out, and deciphering what PD is telling them, because we're not often on the same channels. That's a home run. And I didn't think of it, but man, you just struck a chord with me for this.
What's interesting about the conversation, when you think about it, you take the dispatchers, law enforcement, but when we talk about the whole concept of integrated community risk reduction, think about the utility workers, think about school people, postal workers, cable TV people, FedEx delivery people, anybody who could be on the street and have a opportunity to witness an event, regardless of the nature of the event, is somebody who could benefit from this kind of interaction, this kind of training, this kind of outreach. So, the more we extend ourselves into our communities, the more we help support the fabric of our communities, the more we'll get back. It's the old adage: the more you give, the more you get. And so I think that we'll get better information, we'll get better support, we'll get, deeper relationships. So I think that, this is a neat, and obviously cops pop to mind right away because they're, uniformed just like us and all that other good stuff. But, if you think about those big brown trucks that are cruising the highway every day, and the FedEx guys, and even just the cable TV people who, have, they're on the street, and why not, give them some information so that when they call 911 and the dispatcher asks them a question, they kind of have an orientation already. And it might not be as in depth as what we're doing or what, is being done with law enforcement, but clearly there's some opportunities there because it just makes sense. And as we move forward into the future, and you think about the smart technologies and the ability to integrate, a law enforcement officer at the scene of a working fire or anything else can take out his smartphone or his dash cam and link that to our system. And so, it may not be just being able to describe things, but it may be able to share through smart technology and smart cities and other stuff like that, a better way to respond. You take a look at what Seth is dealing with, where you may have crews that are, 15, 20, 30 minutes out. Getting a quick video like that from a cop dash cam or his handheld phone could be invaluable in saving lives. And you could be able to tell them that, oh, look, there's a chimney there on that canyon. That's going to funnel the fire. Let the people who live on that ridge above know, don't worry about, evacuating people at that level, get to the next level, or something like that could happen. So it's really a neat opportunity. I think that, it's kind of fun to watch the evolution, if you will, of who we are, because many years ago, in a lot of communities, not all, there was a us versus them kind of thing with the law enforcement. I never really grew up with it. I was a New York City kid. We loved the cops. We thought everybody should own one. We thought that was sorry, I had to go there. But so we really didn't see that. But there were communities where, because of the pie, so to speak, we always talk about the pie and the slice of the pie. Many firefighters felt that the cops always got treated better. You heard Aaron say a little earlier how they get paid better. Yep. And so there's always been that kind of unnecessary tension. They might make more, we live better, and people like us, which is neat. So I think that there's a pro and a con to everything you do. There's a duality of life, if you will, and I think that this is a neat outreach, and I can't wait to see it grow to schools and cable TV providers and FedEx people and anybody who's in the community, neighborhood associations, the retirees. There's all kinds of groups that would just love to get this opportunity to learn more about what we know. And in the modern era of the open floor plan, folks are so used to the open floor plan of home life that closing the door needs to be a re-education process, because it's not something that comes naturally to my generation who grew up with the open floor plan. I mentioned it to my mom, who's 92, or be 92 in February, the other day, and she said, I always sleep with the door closed. But that was her generation. My generation grew up with the doors open. And back then you closed the door because you either wanted to keep it cold or you wanted to keep it warm. And so, as my dad used to tell me, don't throw out your skinny ties. Things go one way or the other. So the close the door campaign is really important, and I think that there's a lot of people who we can take this to in all kinds of, hell, you guys are the educators, you figure it out, in all kinds of neat ways.
All right, well, guys, we have hit the top of the hour. I told you these things fly by like there's no tomorrow. So if we'd like to grab some final thoughts, Seth, let's start off.
Yeah, so I think we're really good as an organization or as an institution at getting to the 10-yard line, and we're not very good at getting a touchdown. And so, I encourage everybody out there to, own this. And that's what I really say in my fire department a lot is, own the training, own what you're doing, own your job, own your profession, but own this aspect of that, and, and challenge your local police operations or police department to really dive into this, with both feet. So get that touchdown. Don't sit on the 10-yard line.
Excellent. Kaz?
Yeah. And that's the only way this program is going to work. We can post the video all we want, but you actually have to go out and deliver it and have the conversation and present the SOG and have those conversations. So let's break down the barriers, and hopefully the barriers aren't that great, but let's go out and let's be serious about this and own it. And we're doing it for in the end, Mrs. Smith. That's what this is all about, is in the end to make things better for Mrs. Smith, the taxpayer that's paying for both the police and the fire department.
Excellent. John?
Just echoing everyone else's comments, and as I said before we signed on, I think we have a duty to get this information out and to share this with our law enforcement partners. And I just want to say again, thank you. It was an honor to be to work with all you folks to develop this. So thank you.
Excellent. Well, folks, it's that time. We're going to wrap it up for the day, and we thank you tremendously for sharing your afternoon with us. And everybody's got lots to do, but this is a very, very worthy hour time spent, and it's going to benefit your community, and that's the key to all of these. Every Google Hangout that's done on fire engineering. So we're looking forward to seeing you next month. We'll let you know what the topic is, but don't miss all the Google Hangouts, and we will see you again in about 30 days. Take care and have a great new year. Thanks.